Be sharing with you in this video how to create effortlessly so that you can take the actions that you have to take in your life, still do the things that you need to do, but enter sort of a space where you're not feeling like you're putting in massive amounts of effort. Now, I'm not saying that there's not going to be times and places to put massive amounts of effort in your life. And in this video, we're going to be honoring that space. We're going to be honoring the space of actually putting in work. But at the same time, what if there's ways to use systems, to use techniques, and to use strategies to be able to just make it easier for you? And in this video, we're going to be talking about just that, exactly how to do that. And so the first thing that I want to share with you in this video in terms of how to start to create things in your life, how to take more action effortlessly, so to speak, for lack of a better word, is to understand that what is going to be required of you is to have consistency and momentum in whatever it is that you're doing. So what this means is daily action every single day for the most part, and if not every single day, on an extremely consistent basis. So only when you take action consistently for a consecutive enough time, for a period of time, what eventually happens is that you have so much consistency that you start to build what is called the momentum. And momentum, it's sort of like you're doing stuff, you're taking massive amounts of action, but it just sort of feels easy. It doesn't feel difficult. And oftentimes this sort of just becomes autopilot. It's not something that you need to really overthink anymore. You just sort of do. You sort of do, and this can only happen again when you're consistent enough. So momentum is something that you can only build when you do something with repetition, when you do it over and over and over. And it's not that you do it over and over, doing like the exact same thing, sort of expecting different results. It's like you do it over and over, but you refine every single time that you do it. You do it presently, you do it consciously, and you do it by being fully connected to the present moment, where you're not like oblivious to your blind spots or anything like that, but nonetheless, you consistently take action. So understand that with a certain level of consistency, only then can come momentum, and then only from then can you actually create what we're going to call effortlessly. Which leads me to the second thing that I want to share with you in this video, which is just to understand that really to create effortlessly and to actually build that consistency and momentum that you're looking for is to have and understand that action without thinking is going to be very powerful for you. So I want you to notice something. When you are in the biggest flow states in your life, when you're just in the flow and you're doing things, you're not forcing it, but you're still getting good results. In fact, oftentimes better results than you ever would be able to do otherwise on a normal basis, is only when you're taking action without thinking, when you're not thinking about it. And notice this, when you're getting those results, it doesn't actually require any thinking whatsoever to take action at all. Action just happens. Think about what action is in of itself. Does it actually require thinking? Now, of course, the preparation requires thinking, preparing your vessel, preparing yourself to be aligned with your intentions, to choose your intentions, right? To think about your intentions, do all the prep work. That requires thinking. But then when it actually comes to it, when it comes to application, like of course, studying is important. You have to think to study. But when it comes to actually doing it, doing the thing, doing the action that you want to do, does that require any thought? Is action in of itself something that involves thinking, or is it just something that is just sort of happening? So this is something that we need to start to look at, because I was going to say think about, but that wouldn't really be it, right? Because you don't want to really think about this. You want to just become conscious and realize that action doesn't require thinking at all. And only when you start to become conscious and aware of the beingness of who you actually are, and then the space from which you take action, not just the actions that you're taking, not just the techniques that you're learning, not just the base, the surface level structure, but sort of something a little bit deeper. When you start to come from that space, that's when you start to come from a space of effortless action, effortlessness. If you want to get into a space of effortlessness, where you're actually just doing things, but it's easy, like it's not hard for you, what you want to start to do is realize that doing things doesn't require any thoughts, doesn't require any more planning. All the planning is good, all the thinking is good, it's just a powerful tool. But then again, when it comes to it, It's just execution. It's just pure execution, and you want to make it so that your desire is simply happening on autopilot. Autopilot, not in an unconscious way, but in a fully conscious autopilot, where you're fully conscious of the just things happening by itself, but it's a choice where you're doing what it is that you actually want to do. And so to conclude this video, really, what I really want to share with you is the understanding that only you can achieve a state of effortless action when you have consistent effort over time. So consistent effort over time becomes effortless. It's when you put in a little bit of work at the beginning, then it becomes easier. So for example, if you think back to the first time you've ever rode a bike, was that effortless? Absolutely not, right? It's very clear, if you remember it, that it felt like a struggle. It was like uncomfortable. It's like it felt sort of like, the best way to describe learning to ride a bike for the first time is it feels extremely awkward and weird. Like imagine if you're right-handed, start riding with your left hand right now. It feels very awkward and feels very weird. It doesn't feel normal to you. It doesn't feel autopilot. Now if you use your right hand, it feels autopilot. It feels just easy, conscious autopilot. But if you're very used to riding a bike, it just feels easy autopilot. If you've never done it before, it feels awkward and weird. Now, so what does this mean? This means that at the beginning, anything that you do that's new is of course going to feel a little bit awkward and weird and uncomfortable. And I think that oftentimes we neglect this and we forget that that's completely normal. But then to have this understanding that eventually, with persistence, it will become easy. It will become, so to speak, effortless. Now, of course, there's going to be bumps in the road. Of course, it's going to be a little bit difficult sometimes. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. But nonetheless, though, eventually, you're able to achieve a state of effortless ease where you simply act just without overthinking anything at all. Just simply understanding that, it's going to feel awkward, but then it becomes easy with an intention towards going in a certain direction. And this, if you apply this in your life, is how action becomes very easy, where again, the bumps in the road still happen, but it's easier for you than most people, simply because you understand that you can sort of make it where you don't have to think about it and it just happens by itself, but you know what you want, so the happening by itself happens in alignment with what it is that you actually want to create in your life.